The spookiest time of the year for Fortnite players everywhere is Fortnitemares, Epic's yearly Halloween event. Fortnitemares has had a truly very controversial history, with some Fortnitemares being too Fortnitemares, and other Fortnitemares being not Fortnitemares enough. Confused yet? Yeah. So, happy Fortnitemares. The first ever Fortnitemares kicked off just a month after Battle Royale launched in 2017. As a result, the actual Fortnitemares content of this update is pretty much just the addition of the Pumpkin Launcher, a reskinned Halloween RPG. The Pumpkin Launcher has a very cool aura, it has a little giggle to it, a cackle, and it has come back every year without fail. And who could hate this thing? I mean, it goes meh when you shoot it, and that's awesome. I honestly wish they did more of this kinda seasonal variant thing. Save the World got the Gravedigger in the same update, but for some reason that never arrived in Battle Royale. Sad. However, this Fortnitemares also introduced the Item Shop, the first form of monetizable content in Battle Royale, alongside the Locker. At this point, it was fairly humble, just a couple of Halloween skins that definitely won't cause any controversy next year. But look at it now! In 2018, Fortnitemares saw Loot Lake explode and cause portals to open all across the island, spawning cube monsters and fiends, the first PvE feature in Fortnite Battle Royale. Firstly, wow, that trailer is really good. I love the animation here. But this was really the first time there was a major controversial feature among Fortnite players. While the fiends could be killed for shields and occasional item drops, they were also incredibly loud, distracting, and deadly. Fortnite is a game about fighting other players, and a lot of people didn't enjoy being swarmed by zombies while trying to secure the victory, which, you know, is pretty fair. You'd either get overwhelmed and die to the fiends, or make too much noise dealing with the fiends and get dropped on by a nearby player. 'Twasn't the greatest for endgames. Really, the cube monsters should have all disappeared towards the end of the match. They could have tied it into the story, they recede into the storm. But no. I personally enjoyed Fortnitemares 2018, I liked the cube monsters, I think they're fun to fight, but I do completely understand those who didn't. I think the Team Terror LTM introduced immediately after Fortnitemares ended was a much better implementation of the cube monsters mechanic. Team Terror is lower stakes, it's 30v30 and it's co-op, which means that you can better balance PvP and PvE options. And best of all, it's completely optional. Fortnitemares completely took over the solo, duo, and squad playlists. So during this Halloween period, you straight up couldn't play Battle Royale without zombies, which for a lot of people, not very good. Kinda sucked. This event also added the 6-shooter, which is a fun enough pistol but not really very powerful, and the Fiend Hunter crossbow, a Halloween variant of the old crossbow item that also kinda sucks. Okay, so both of these items sucked, but they, you know, they look cool. This Fortnitemares also saw a 50% off sale for Save the World, the first of its kind. That's when I bought the game, and so did many of my friends, so that was pretty cool. And they added the Candy Corn LMG, another really cool Halloween reskin that for whatever reason never joined Battle Royale. Such a shame, it's got a really fun design. This Fortnitemares wasn't perfect, but it was the first big event they did, and they really went all out for it, with the Halloween decorations all across the map and the more gloomy, foggy look to the world. It was a really special vibe. Oh, and Skull Trooper came back with an exclusive purple style for the OGs who had him OG, and that never caused any controversy. Ever. 2019's Fortnitemares kicked off just 2 weeks into the brand new Chapter 2, a fortnight into Fortnite Chapter 2. But don't let that make you think they phoned it in this year. In fact, I would argue that this is one of the most underrated years of all. The Tempest of the Storm King is the main attraction here, a great big team battle against the biggest, baddest foe of all, the freaking Storm King. Slap bang in the middle of the map. How cool is that? And it's optional. The victory umbrella from that LTM is really cool as well. Unfortunately, the mode was disabled for a fair bit of this Fortnitemares event, which means that I couldn't play it as much as I would have wanted to, but when I did, I had a really great time. It was a bit of a challenge too, or maybe I just sucked. I don't know. Regular Battle Royale was a proper vibe too. The cube monsters returned but confined to the central Isle of the Storm, which makes for a bit of a challenge spot, as you don't really get better loot, but you have to deal with these freaky fiends. Every so often you would get jump scared by these, well, jump scare zombies. I really liked these a lot, don't get me wrong, they absolutely scared the shit out of me, but it was really funny every time. Added a lot more suspense to the entire game. You never know when one's gonna pop out. The decor is out in full force again, and the pumpkin launcher once again came back. I think they really missed the opportunity to add something like the candy corn LMG or the gravedigger here. Chapter 2 Season 1 is often dogged on for having a lack of loot pool content over time, and even a simple addition like this could have gone a long way. There were also creative maps, I guess. These maps were actually super well designed. I actually really liked gunfights. I just think creative was still in a pretty janky state at this point, so these events where they'd push creative maps just weren't as fun as they could have been. No fault to the map creators at all. Really well made. Oh, and Gold Trooper came back with an exclusive OG pink style for the OGs that had her OG, and that didn't cause any controversy either. Yeah. That brings us to 2020 and my absolute favorite Fortnitemares of all, Midas's Revenge. In fact, this is not an unpopular opinion. While the event was pretty controversial at the time, I think a decent amount of players look back on this event with fondness. I always liked it. I'm not like y'all, I always liked this event. The main gimmick of this year's event is Shadow Midas and his army of shadows. When you're down, you're not out. In fact, you're now working for the undead. This was such a cool gimmick. Fighting off a horde of shadows or working together to slash the living is super fun and changes the whole flow of the game in a really interesting way. Yes, it took over the main playlists again, and I can definitely see why some people might just not enjoy that gameplay experience. But as a limited time thing, to me, it was a really good time. The Authority became the Ruins, and my Gubo, the Halloween vibes here were so good, with the ghostly henchmen and their pumpkin launchers and the jauntily groovy boss music. Damn, I'm bopping out to this. Shadow Midas drops his Shadow Drum Gun, and hey, look at that! They did make a new seasonal gun variant. There's also the Witch Broom, a genuinely really fun glider redeploy item, very well themed. Can't forget all of that yummy Halloween candy too. This is the only Fortnitemares to have its own theme music too, in this dope-ass remix of the Fright Funk emote. This is probably the most groovy Halloween theme in the game, it's so good. I think the only real letdown this year is no Shadow Midas as a skin, but thankfully that will be resolved as Fortnitemares 2021 brings the Wrath of the Cube Queen, and this is one of the most underrated events for me. You had the Caretakers, the first real big mini-boss in Fortnite history, roaming around the map just jonesing for a fight, and they were super fun to fight too. The Sideways Scythe is definitely the big weapon addition here. It's really the first just straight up regular melee weapon in Battle Royale, and well, I won't lie, it's not super useful or strong, but it has really cool animations and effects, and it's incredibly fun to use this thing to just slice through hordes of cube monsters. Also, Dual Fiend Hunters. These existed, and I definitely remembered that they existed before researching this video. Yeah. No, I didn't, I'm sorry. They're cool though. I think the rework of Horde Rush is probably the heavy hitter this year. This classic LTM went from being a neat Fortnite Zombies mode to genuinely one of the most engaging PvE experiences in the entire game. So much so that it has come back legit every year since. Seriously, this mode is super fun, I actually really love it. The Convergence was also constructed, and while it looks super cool and the bouncy cubes make up a fun gameplay dynamic, I don't actually find this to be a crazy enjoyable drop spot, largely due to the lack of materials and cover. That said, this Fortnitemares was really solid. Definitely in my top 3. I really love this tarot card aesthetic they went with too, with the cards flipping over to reveal the upcoming item shop editions. That's really unique and creative marketing. Plus, they finally released Shadow Midas, and maybe one of the coolest and creepiest Fortnitemare skins of all time, Curdle Scream Leader. Fortnitemares 2022 had the achievement of releasing. This year dialed back on being super lore relevant and focused more on partying down, hard Halloween rave style. The first thing we need to address is what's with the logo? They completely switched it up, the whole branding, and then forgot about it forever. Good, I say. I honestly think that after such a solid run of yearly events, this year's was a real letdown. Paradise had insanely awesome, creepy marketing, and I thought they'd really lean into the chrome element, but nope. Howler claws, I guess. The claws are cool on a conceptual level, but in gameplay they're really just a worse version of the Wolverine claws from Chapter 2. You can do a pretty weak slash attack or a howl to mark nearby players, and don't get me wrong, that's kind of cool. but it's also kind of the entire event. They were also disabled for a while because they literally made you invincible. Outside of that, you have Horde Rush, Zero Build, so Horde Rush, but worse? I think it's very telling that every future event would only bring back the building version. And finally, Deep Below Grim Gables, which is admittedly a very cool POI, but it wasn't actually added during Fortnitemares, so I can't count it. You can find this actually very cool, very creepy boss fight against the Inquisitor, who even has his own crew back in theme. Super dope! His boss drop? A mythic suppressed SMG with absolutely zero buffs over the original one. Huh. Okay. Well, still pretty cool. Just not enough to save this event from mediocrity, I'm afraid. The only thing I'm afraid of is how mid this event was.
There's nothing.
Worse is that I don't have anything good at all to say about 2023's Fortnitemares. In fact, I am a firm believer that this is the lowest point for Fortnitemares. This is the worst one of all, or at least the least Fortnitemares. There's so little Fortnitemares in this one that I'd be inclined to just call it Fortnite. No mares. Yes, this bit is very hard on the tongue, but I'm committed, damn it. Fortnitemares, Fortnitemares, Fortnitemares. Uh-oh, I think I just summoned Tim Sweeney. Let's run through everything new in this event. You got the wood stake shotgun, and that's it. The wood stake shotgun is among my least favorite shotguns in the entire game, which kinda sucks because it's actually got a really cool design. But the actual gun is just not even remotely fun to use. It's got that same single pellet gimmick from Chapter 3's heavy shotgun, and I've never liked that. And on top of that, it's got worse structure damage, which was a big part of the former gun's appeal. Yeah, sorry, I just really can't get behind this thing. I'll never really pick it up. I mean, it shoots out wood stakes. They could have made them splinter off into different pellets. Why does it have to be a single slug? I will say, Kato Thorn's siphoning kinetic blade is pretty gosh darn cool, but the kinetic blade was never a weapon I actually went for kills with, so I'm not entirely sure that it's the greatest pick for the siphon gimmick. Which broom is red now? Cool. Fortnitemares 2024 did the unthinkable. It made Absolute Doom playable. After the past 2 years, you'd think it's wraps for Fortnitemares, but no. They really brought it back for Chapter 5's installment. In fact, it's almost the saving grace of this entire season. It's certainly the most fun I had here. Freaky Fields came out of nowhere as a brand kinda new POI, and obvious and unfunny jokes about its name aside, this is a genuinely decent drop spot. There's also Brawler's Patch having this really fun grind vine setup with the Pumpkin Knight boss to fight. Sadly, he doesn't have any unique drops, but it's still super neat. The chainsaw is a very out of place item, conceptually. There's no special Fortnite twist to it. It's literally just a fucking chainsaw out of a horror movie. Well, you can ride it infinitely, which is really very quite the spectacle, and it's also kind of incredibly broken, but I do enjoy the chainsaw as an item. And who doesn't want to ride a chainsaw to the moon anyway? The Boom Billy just kinda is here, but I have a fond spot for it in my heart because I was trying to explain it to my IRLs who hadn't played in months, and we were just in hysterics over how stupid of an item this is. Like, what is this, dude? Horde Rush this year has modular weapons and is actually surprisingly fun? I don't know what it is, but the whole modding bullet drop gun system actually fits PvE really, really well. That brings us to the latest and perhaps even greatest, 2025's Fortnitemares, which is headed up by Doja Cat. Gulp. Ignoring Doja I Hate My Fans Cat being the headliner for some ungodly reason, there's actually a ton of content going on in this Fortnitemares, beyond the absolute heaps of collab content. Like, geez, there is so much. The two that I was personally geeked for were Repo and Wednesday, and they absolutely delivered on those. But on top of that, they've changed damn near half the map. And I'm not just talking about the pumpkins they've sprawled everywhere, although there are quite a lot. There's the all-new creepy camps, plus some slight makeovers with viney shafts, gaudy gate, and pumpkin pass. And of course the return of Freaky Fields with a slightly reshuffled layout. The entire map is covered in big old pumpkins and smaller decorations. They really went all out here. You know, thinking about it, it kinda makes sense that they're able to do so much for Chapter 5 and 6's Fortnitemares, because said Fortnitemares is the last update of each respective chapter's map. So they can just do what they like. And you know what? Hey, I'm here for it. A lot of the item additions here are collab based, with the Scream knife that is honestly completely useless, and Scooby Snacks, this is hilarious, and of course Doja's Chain of Hades, this makes complete sense, and the pumpkin launcher is red now too, sure, why not? Horde Rush this year is Demon Rush. This is a souped up version of the Fortnitemares classic in collaboration with K-pop Demon Hunters, with a sick looking Han Moonstorm and Guimar's demon army to push back against, combined with cursed augments with which you can build a pretty insane loadout Risk of Rain style, kind of insane boss fight, and an endless mode. This is a super fun, well thought out LTM. On top of all of that, you've got Reloads joining the fun with a genuinely really solid new map in Nightmare Island, and Fortnite OG having a slightly dialed back version of 2018's event in play. This really is the most Fortnitemares to ever Fortnitemare. There is so much mare in this Fortnite. Shame the marketing sucks, so you wouldn't know about 90% of the content since they're too busy making TikToks about Fortnitemare's feet and the, mommy mammoth pistol. Yeesh. That concludes our spooky stroll through Fortnitemares history. There's been ups, there's been downs, and there's been whatever the hell was going on in 2022. But overall, Fortnitemares is just one of those annual game traditions that you just can't miss out on. It's the event that Epic most consistently goes all out for, really only tied by Winterfest, and oh man, I'm gonna have to do this in 2 months for Winterfest as well, aren't I? Anyway, this is my ranking of every Fortnitemares from best to worst. Or if you prefer, most Fortnitemares to least Fortnitemares. But after all of that, after all of these events, what is the greatest Fortnitemare of all? It's obviously the Mommy Mammoth Pistol dude. What the hell was that?